Can you move the bucket, please?
Should we just lift it from here?
Absolutely. Yeah, we can do it. Okay, guys, oh, we have also we have also. Rabbi, it's slippery here.
No, we're going to hold. You got it? Careful.
Yeah, which way do you want the head to be? Is this the feet or the head? This is the feet. Yeah, we got to turn around.
Here, it's very careful. Okay. Put it on the jacket. No, hold on one second. Before we start the service, the funeral service, the two sons are going to recite together with me the bracha. And, hold on. Hold on to the black ribbon, it tears a little bit. Tear it with your hand and say it together with me. So you're wearing gloves, I'll do it for you. Baruch, Atah, Adonai, Eloheinu, Melech HaOlam, Dayan, HaEmet. We're going to lower the Arain, Rita Smilovitz. At that point, we're going to recite a few chapters of Tehillim and recite the Eshes Chayil, followed by a few words from Bernie and Harvey. We're going to each have the schus of participating in the special mitzvah by helping cover the Arain. We're going to recite the Kelma Le'Rachamim, and with the commitment, us as Jewish people and as our community, to make sure that there'll be a minyan in this environment. Bernie and Harvey are going to have the opportunity to recite Kaddish at this funeral. So first we're going to lower down. At this point, it is customary, especially for those that were closest to Rita, children, grandchildren, friends, to ask mechila, to ask for forgiveness. If there's anything that we could have done that we didn't, anything that we could have done better, please forgive us. This is a silent forgiveness prayer that each person with their relationship thinks of at this time. I'm going to recite two chapters of Psalms. Michtam LeDavid, Shamreni El, Ki Chasisi Vach, Amart Ladinai Adinayata, Tevasi Balalecha, Lekdeishim Asher Baratemo, Vadir Kochav Tevam, Yirbu Atzmoisam Acher Maharu, Balasich Niskeyam Idam, Ubalesa Ashmoisam Al Sifasai, Adonai manas chalki v'koisi atatomach gairali. Chabalim nafli v'neimi mafnach l'shafra alai. Avarach Adonai ki yatsuni. Yatsani afleilas yisuni kil yosei. Shivis Adonai l'nagdi samit kimimini b'alar meid l'chein samach livi v'yagel kavaydi af pesadi yishkoin lavetach. Ki leisazev nashu l'shol leisitein. Chasid chalirai shachas tadiene rechayim sei b'smachais es panecha neimois b'mincha netzach. Yoshe b'seiser Eliam b'tzel sharba yisleina neimla neimachtim tzidasi alei haraftach bach ki hu yatzilcha mipach yokish medavar abayis v'abrasa yasachlach v'sachlach v'sachna tzina v'sechera amita leisira v'pach l'mechetzi aviyam medavar leifa yalach mekatav yashat tzarayim Gipo mitzidach v'bavu v'mecha layiga shak v'nechasav kisum so yisir v'katna imachzi l'salat l'maynecha Laisuna l'chalav v'negel ha'ikul b'alach k'malach v'tzach v'lach l'shmach v'chol v'chach k'mayim such v'derech v'tinga v'gach ha'ashach v'fetzim v'timerz k'vir sana k'vir chashav v'anseh ha'seg b'en k'yad l'shmi k'reinu v'nei minech v'tzarech v'tzei v'chabdeyu v'eidechem asbiyu v'areyu v'shuasi. Chapter 23 of Psalms, I'm going to read it. It's a short chapter. Read it in Hebrew and English. Mizmar leDavid, Adonai roi lo yechsar, b'nois desa yarbitzeini, al mei menucha yisina aleini. Nafshi yeshevev yamcheni b'maglei tzedek l'man shemoi. Gam ki elech b'geitz al moves, la'ira ra ki ata yimadi. Shiftecha u'mishantecha, heiman yinachamuni yitarech l'fona yeshulchan, neged tzayri d'shante b'shem ha'koisi b'voyach. Teva chesed yudufuni koyim echayai. V'shafti b'veis Adonai lo'irach yamim. A psalm by David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He revives my soul. He directs me in the paths of righteousness for the sake of his name. Even if I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they will comfort me. You will prepare a table before my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup is full. Only goodness and kindness shall follow me in the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord for many long years. Before we hear from Bernie, there's an idea called kavod acharon, final honors, final respects. We gather today to afford Rita, Rivka Smilovitz, this kavod acharon, this final respect. This mitzvah is called a chesed shel emes, a true type of kindness, because it's not a kindness that one gets repaid for. It's a kindness that we afford a person on the end of their life. Now, as we'll hear in a moment, Rita had a difficult beginning to her life. And the fact that she had the nachas of her boys, the nachas, the Yiddish nachas of her family, is something that we are sure gives her comfort, gave her comfort on the end of her life, and now, as her neshama ascends, as her soul ascends, she sees us together. She sees us together following in the path of tradition, following in the path of where she came from in the old country, and not fazed by inclement weather, not fazed by anything else, but making sure that we do things the proper way, a way that she so truly deserves. Cleared up a little bit, so you'll let me indulge just in this one paragraph that many are familiar with and is well deserving at this moment. Darshan Tzemer Ufishli Matas Bechefes Kapeha Hoysa Kaniya Soicher Mimerchak Tavi Lachma Batakam Biyoid Laila Vatiteng Teref Lavesa Vachekna Leisea Zamna sadavati kocheyu mi pricha pernata karer. Chargaviois masneha vatamid zroiseha. Tamo kitoy sachra la yichva balayla neriada shilcha vakishar. V'chapeh otam chufalech kato parsalani v'yadeh shilcha le'evin. V'yisila v'beisa v'shalai kichol beisa lavusha shani. Marvadi masisala sheish v'yargam lavusha. Noida vashiyarim bala v'shivta yivzik neyaret sadina savatikar v'chagarna salaknani. Oy zohad lavusha v'tizuk v'yoyim acharoin v'yapasla v'chachma v'soyras chesed ale shoynot seifi alicha isbeisa v'lachem atzlus loisachel kamu v'neva shua ba'ala v'yalala Rabbi Zmanas asuchayel v'yatalis al kulana Sheker achei ve'evel ayoyefi Isha yiras adoinoi Isis alotinu la mi priyadea V'yalalua b'shari b'maseha. Bernie, Harvey, you guys have a legacy to carry on. You have a legacy to carry on, a tradition to carry on, and each in your own unique way see to bring out your mother's qualities in your respective circles, in your respective homes, in your respective states, and for this to be a gathering where we say, Mom, we're going to continue the things that are important. You gave it to us, and we're going to continue it with our children, with our families, with our communities. So please give our attention.
My brother and I want to thank everyone for being here today, and anybody who knew my mother knew that she was simply one of a kind. She really, truly was one of a kind. She was born in Munkash, in Czechoslovakia. She's taken from her home during World War II as a teenager and transported to Auschwitz. The unspeakable horrors that she saw made her waver but never quit. As many of you know, less than 2,500 people walked out of Auschwitz. My mother was one of them. It's a miracle, a true miracle if there ever was one. She came to America. She came to America after the war, met the love of her life, my father Isidore Smilovitz, on Brighton Beach in New York, just like a Neil Simon script. Two Eastern Europeans trying to make it in the United States, both with a work ethic to be admired. They eventually settled in Washington, D.C., dedicated themselves to giving their two sons a better life than they had, and they did. My mom made sure that I had what I needed to be successful growing up. I remember needing a record player in junior high school to listen to French lessons. I got it. Of course, I never mentioned to her that you could also listen to the Beatles. There were also opening day tickets to see the Senators, if I produced a good report card. It always humored my mom that I delivered strong grades just as the baseball season arrived. And she approved of me getting a transistor radio. Thanks to her, that led to many sleepless nights under the covers listening to baseball games and falling in love with the world of sports. But the love she showed me paled in comparison to the love for her grandchildren, including our two boys, Zach and Jake. I know Jake's first words were Lakshan soup. Translation, chicken noodle soup. And my mother left this world secure in the knowledge that Jake's love of Lakshan soup has been passed on to his 2-year-old daughter, Eloise. On FaceTime, my mom loved to watch Eloise devour soup and strawberries. Look at her eat those strawberries, she quelled. All the suffering she went through, all the hunger she endured in her life, and the resilience she showed in surviving lives on through them. My mom showed the greatest strength of all when she unlocked the secrets of Auschwitz to our oldest son, Zach. As a junior in high school, he wanted to do a film project on his grandparents and their being in the Holocaust. The subject had never never been talked about in our home growing up. My brother will attest to that. But for my grandson, my mom would do anything. And shortly thereafter, the horrors of the Holocaust came to life in an award-winning documentary, A is for Auschwitz, A Weekend with My Grandparents. By the way, available on YouTube. My mom's love of family was above all else in the world. Every night at 6:30, when I would drive home for dinner, she wanted me to call her. She wanted to hear my voice. But more importantly, she wanted to see how Zach and Jake were. And she wanted to hear about her Donna. The love between these two women has endured for over 40 years. And even though Rita is taking up a new residence, that love will not wane. Her adoration of Donna and vice versa was something to behold. Despite all the torture and all the hate my mother encountered in her early life, she developed a sense of humor that was epic, unlike any other. Once at our home in Michigan for a brunch following Jake's bar mitzvah, she noticed a group of people outside. I brought her over and introduced her to everyone, including author Mitch Albom, who's been a dear friend and neighbor for many years. His book, Tuesdays with Morrie, was flying off the bookshelves. So I said, "Mom, this is Mitch Albom." And my mom said, "Who?" So I said, "Mitch Albom. He wrote the book, Tuesdays with Morrie." And without missing a beat, my mother said, "Tuesdays with Morrie, Tuesdays with Morrie. Morrie Povich?" Not long ago, our grandson Sebastian Rhodes Smilovitz was born. Jake and Laura wanted to honor Grandma Rita, but naming a child after a living person is considered taboo in the Jewish religion. While we were visiting her this past summer, I asked her if that was okay. She smiled and said, "What an honor." So Sebastian Rhodes carries on Rita's name. And if I could take just a quick moment, I'd like to ask God for a favor. Please take care of our mother. She only wanted the best for her family and the world. She sacrificed and suffered through the worst mankind had to offer, and did so with dignity and grace. And now her sense of vitality, humor, and deep, unwavering love will live on through her children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and countless generations to come. What a blessing. We love her deeply, and we always will. In closing, I'm reminded of the time that I asked my mother, after all the horror you've seen, all you have been through, how do you still believe in God? She looked straight at me with a steel gaze and said, "Shh, quiet. He might be listening." We love you, Mom. We miss you. We love you.
I'm not the writer in the family, but I have a couple of words. As Barney said, thank you all for braving the storm and coming out, and thank you for tuning in online. There's a proverb that says, "A person lives for as long as they're remembered." If that's true, my mom, Rita Smilovitz, will live on for a very long time. Everyone that came into contact with her will never forget her warm smile and comforting words. Everybody's shaking their head. She always made you feel good. That's what her many caregivers are telling me this week. The one who's been with her the longest, 11 years, Teresa, who we consider a member of our family, thought of Rita as her mother. Many days I would visit at Mom's house, and Teresa would be trying to feed her food or give her medicine. And of course, you all know how stubborn Mom could be. That was a tough act. Teresa tried everything. And when the last resort came, she called me. I will always remember the younger, happier days. We go to Triton Beach or Atlantic City. I always had a blast going in the water with my mom. She always made it fun. There wasn't a day that would go by where she would tell me how beautiful I am or how much she loved me. She really made me feel like $1,000,000 and gave me the confidence to make others feel great, like my Vibula Terry, who's here. Mom never met Terry, but she would have loved her, especially for Terry's kindness and warmth. The grandkids were her pride and joy, as Bernie told you about Zach, who's here, and Jake. Likewise, my Shane and Michael, knew how much she loved them, giving Michael chicken soup or stuffing Shana with food. Everyone felt good and full with Mom around. And how lucky she was, after all she had been through, to live to be a great-grandmother, Eloise, Sebastian, and my Eladina. However, the last year was very difficult for Mom. She was bedridden, and since I would see her 2 or 3 times a week, it was also difficult for me. But always with a smile, I would tell her she looked great, and I felt great, and I loved her. And through all her sores, she would say, I love you too. Even in the final minutes of her life, I said to her on the phone, you'll be okay, I love you. I hung up the phone, and 10 minutes later, the caregivers called me back to say she was gone. She was a survivor in every sense of the word, from Auschwitz to bedridden. But thanks to that mighty spirit, my mother, Rita Smilovitz, will be remembered, and she will live on for a very long time. May you rest in peace, Mom, with Daddy. I love you.
So Bernie and Harp, thank you for sharing those words with us. I think everybody who heard them felt the value of family come through in all your words, and may we all appreciate this and express it both in the way one honors their parents and the way she displayed the quintessential Yiddische Mama, Yiddische Baba, Yiddische Elter Baba for the great grandkids. A real schus. One last. She had my number. She had my number because since your father's passing, she had my number. And for a few years, she would call about the caregiver, about the girls from the yeshiva. The girls from the yeshiva were phenomenal. They would go and they would spend time with her. And there was one girl, I won't say her name now because she's maybe friendly with some of the other people that are here. And she would call and she would say, I have this amazing girl. If you know anybody, I will pay you to find a shidduch. If I find you to find a shidduch for this person. And it just brings out this quality. Somebody who's being cared for, and she's caring for that person. And the giving quality is one that is seared in my mind when I think of Rita Smilovitz, and may that quality be something that you seek to bring out in your families as well. To worry about another yid, to worry about another person, because it makes a difference to that person when you think of it. At this point, we're going to ask her if there's some able-bodied people to come and help. We're going to cover the Aron. There's a liner here, so we're not going to fill it up all the way, but we're going to cover the Aron. We're going to recite, the Kel Malei Rachamim, and then the Kaddish that Bernie and Harvey will move up for and recite it together. So if I could get some people to come up. Because this is not an act of joy, there's a little bit of a reluctance here. We take the back of the shovel, and only then do we get practical and take shovels full to be able to make this happen. Okay, I'm going to bring this bucket to the family here. If any of you would be up to coming up, take a little bit of the scoop. If you have, just be careful when you walk here. Yeah, Zach. just for the first little peek. After that, I'll take the
Thank you so much. Very sweet of you. Every day.
should do it, right? Meaning for the year of mourning. No translator.
Silence.
I'll help you with this because unfortunately I'm in the. I just finished the shloshah for my life.
Yeah, that's it.
No, that's Kelmo special time. Yeah, that's it. I'll say the Kaddish to you. No. A little more. Cleared up.
Don't go. I don't care. RHO.
My grandfather was one of those survivors of that.
Watching the documentary. And he starts talking about Joseph. And he eats and I don't. Then we kind of, what she never said was, we didn't know anything. Until he did.
Their son is Raphael.
I was going to mention, I heard you say he's probably on the moon.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to say the Kel Moli Rachamim followed by the Kaddish. Kel Moli Rachamim, Shoychein V'Amiroimin, Hamtzei Menucha Nechoin Al Kanfei Ashchina, B'Malois Kedoshim Utoirim Kizoir Arakia Mazirin, Es Nishmas Rivka Bas her slave rose shalcha laylama Bavur shenadu tzaka badaskaras nishmasa V'ganei dedei menuchasa L'chein palarachani yastideo V'seiser knafov lo'ilami V'yitzra b'tzeracha yiles nishmasa Adinoi nachalasoy V'sanuach al mishkava V'shaloi v'noimar Amen.
B'Agala ubizman kari v'imru Amen.
Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbo
Yisborah, Yishtabach, Yisboar, Yisramam, Yisnaseh, Yishadar, Yisaler, Yisadlah, Shmei the Kudishah, Bring
Amen.
Shalom, Shirasa, Tushkabah, Damiran, Diamam, Dimru, Amen. Yehi Shlomo Rabbah, Min Shemaya, V'chayei Aloinu V'alkol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'Rumam, Hu Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu V'alkol
Amen. The last thing, it's a little dicey here to make a road, so if everybody could say after me, the Hamakom Yenachem, the prayer now. Hamakom Yenachem Etchem B'toch Sha'ar Avei Tzion Yerushalayim. The translation is, may you be comforted amongst the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. Stay strong. Continue the memory and legacy that your parents have given you. For those, Avi, will you be at Menachem Erev today?
God willing.
God willing. It's not going to be snowing. We're done with the snow. Menachem Erev will be at 4:45, and Harvey will be there. He'll recite Kaddish, and he'll sit Shiva for a little bit after Erev. For the other family-related things, return to the family.
Thank you.
Thank you.
B'Agala ubizman kari v'imru Amen.
Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbo
Yisborah, Yishtabach, Yisboar, Yisramam, Yisnaseh, Yishadar, Yisaler, Yisadlah, Shmei the Kudishah, Bring
Amen.
Shalom, Damiran, Diamam, Dimru, Amen. Yehi Shlomo Rabbah, Min Shemaya, V'chayei Aloinu V'alkol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'Rumam, Hu Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu V'alkol